Hello and welcome. This is This Time Africa, right here in the studios of Afrique Today. And I'm your host, Seah Matilda Banga. As usual, you know this is the platform where we showcase African businesses, African men and women, our beauty and culture. We showcase emerging leaders and politicians. Everything in the dish. But the question as always is, what's on this time? As you know, we have been looking and talking and speaking with great minds of Africa, and we actually like to fish out and see what the great minds are doing around the DC, Maryland, or Virginia areas. And tonight I have the pleasure of speaking with Mr. James Mensah, who is the co-founder of FAS Marketplace and also holds or supervises a branch office of State Farm right here in the state of Maryland. Hello and welcome to the show, James.
Thank you. Nice to see you. It's
so nice to have you. Wow, I had a mouthful there. FAS Marketplace.
Yes.
What is it and what is the motivation behind it?
FAS Marketplace. It is a marketplace for handmade vendors, people who are crafters, designers, creators. These people have made their wares themselves. They have designed it, and they have now a place, a location to actually sell their wares indoors. So a lot of times our vendors carry their material with them. They're outside, they're in the snow, they're in the cold, they're in the rain, they're in the heat. But if you create a space, a haven, a community that they can come to and sell their wares, that's great. Now the second aspect of FA's Marketplace also, it kind of caters to our youth. A lot of times throughout the school system, there are a lot of programs for education and development, but unfortunately, some of them fall through the cracks. Yes. So FA's Marketplace will provide STEM programs, robotic classes, engineering classes, sewing classes, things that not everybody can get into the schools because you have to qualify for programs.
Yeah.
And there's only limited room, so no fault of the school, but they need other activities for the rest of the children.
Wow. So it's kind of like a one-stop shop where you can go in there and you can trade or buy something.
Correct.
And also using it's a multi-purpose space.
Absolutely.
All right. So you're actually providing the space.
Absolutely, by providing the space.
All right. So like for instance, for the STEM classes and robotic classes, do you have people, volunteers or professionals that are going to be managing those classes?
Yes, we have professional teachers.
Okay.
There are teachers from the county themselves, and we also have people who are coders, so people who do coding and math, and they come in and they'll present these classes and teach them.
Wow, amazing. Yeah. For a fee? Because I can teach something.
Well, we can talk about that. Absolutely.
All right, but let's go back to FAS Marketplace.
Yeah.
I know that there are places around maybe Maryland or DC that have vendors that go there and sell their wares and all of that, right, whether it's in-house or outside. What would make FAS different?
Well, what makes this a lot different is it started from the ability to help others succeed. The guise, the edifice of that is to help others succeed. So within our marketplace, we're having classes and curriculum for these vendors as well. Okay. So you have a business, almost like an incubator, where you're creating a space, not just to sell, but we're creating a space where you can teach, you can learn. So there'll be classes for business plan development. There'll be classes for marketing and networking, classes for website development, wow, things that will help the business owner, the vendor themselves. Most of them are artists, and so they create art, but the business side and business acumen may or may not need some development, and we're here to help.
So you're looking more at not only the sales by them empowering them socioeconomically, yeah, but also developing their skills.
Absolutely.
I'm glad that you're targeting the youth.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think it's a generation that should not be lost, and in every little place that we can find, we should really have a place for them. Are you targeting any youth, like in any group age group, or?
Yeah, and we're gonna have people, youth grades from elementary school on up. You know, that's where you can really make an impact at that age.
Yes.
Especially with the STEM classes and those types of the STEAM and STEM classes I mentioned.
That's amazing, because I know that if we start from from the bottom up as far as age, then you make that impact and it's a lasting impact. How about for the vendors? Who are you targeting? Or what in particular are you targeting? Just anybody or?
A lot of our vendors, because there's a jury selection, so it's not, it's quality. You know, you're looking at quality vendors who their things should be sold in great places, but unfortunately nobody knows about.
They don't have a platform.
They don't have a platform. They don't have an outlet.
Yes.
And so we go through a jury phase. They get selected to be in. So it's not for everybody's accepted. There is a jury platform for those out there. And then after that, once you're selected, we will bring you in, and you can, as long as it's handmade. By your hands or someone else's hands.
So for somebody that is listening right now and he or she is into jewelry and specialty like that, handmade, what would you say to the person?
I would say go to fasmarketplace.com. There's a link on there. You can apply as a vendor. And as a vendor, you'll go through a process. In about 5 to 7 days, you will know that you're selected or not, and we'll go from there. And then the application will be processed accordingly.
And as far as the quality of the product?
Well, the quality, that's where you will also provide pictures of your product.
Okay.
And description. I mean, if it's art, of course, we can see what it is, but pictures will speak 1,000 words. That's
right. So, I mean, just listening to you, I see that it's like, are you trying to have like a kind of brand? You're trying to not only bridge the gap, but also do a kind of a rebranding or branding.
Yes, we're creating this brand for our culture. You see, for example, what I found is the way to influence people globally is to share your culture and share your work and share your design and share your art. Share what you're able to, what you're writing, your poetry, whoever you are, what you can do. Because the space will also have a place and a platform for a poet to talk, to present her writings or her readings. And it's creating this place that no one has, and what we had back home in the community sense. But those things get lost as we're in a broader sense in a different country.
Yeah, because what we have been trying to do is see how we can amalgamate, bring all our skills together in one place. You are not going to have all, but at least creating the space will help bring people together. So take me through the journey of what inspired you actually to do this.
Well, it's, as I mentioned, I'm co-owner of this business, and the other co-owner is my spouse, my wife.
Okay.
And back in 2008, we looked at an opportunity to try and help others as things progressed. As our children grew and we grew as business owners, we said, well, what can we do in terms of bringing our skills together to create a place? And as we grew, these things grew into a marketplace and also grew into things for children, because we had young children at the time. And so you start combining all these things and you say, wait a minute, we're not the only family who's going through this. There are other people who might need a place like this to come and experience.
Does she do jewelry herself? Or?
Yeah, she's also a designer, so she makes kids clothing and kids toys. So she's multi-talented. So a lot of times I will be the person packing and carrying these things to these different shows in Virginia and DC and wherever the places. And wait a minute, there's a more efficient way to do this.
Let's have a place and display what we know how to do.
Exactly, it's more efficient.
Oh, you share with me. I think when I was having a pre-discussion with you, you told me about how some of the dolls will look like, and some of the jewelry and the different patterns. I think that will also represent different countries.
Yeah, a lot of the dolls, for example, there's an elephant doll that she's created, a blue elephant. But behind the ears, you know, elephants have these large ears. Behind the ears, you have a kente design, or just the African colors in our fabric. That's the little hints of influences of our culture being shared. So imagine someone from a different culture who's hugging and loving this doll, but also getting the sense of Africa in her his home.
Just being like you're in Africa. So I'm supposing that I'm just having like a mental glimpse of what your space is going to look like. I can see that the jewelry is there, and then there are people probably in another room doing their STEM work and other things that are going on. can you just give us and the viewers who are listening to us, what kind of picture are we expecting to have?
You're expecting to come in, walk through a place that carries you through natural experience. So even from the colors on the wall to the imagery that we're trying to depict to also the flooring that you're walking on.
Wow.
Where it's creating a space where you're like, wait a minute, this is something different. Things pop off the wall here. I feel, even though it's almost like you're walking into a place and you're walking into an oasis. So wait a minute, when we want you to leave, when you say, well, when you leave this place, you wonder, where was I? For a few minutes, where was I? You were in a different place, and you were learning, community experience. You were picking up things.
Yes.
And maybe you were helping the vendors also by purchasing from them.
Of course.
Because the economics were trickling down by buying from the different vendors.
Yes.
Yeah.
And buying from people that have good skills, good trade, but have not been, probably the human resource or have not been available to them.
Absolutely.
And so that's what we are providing. And where is this place located again?
It's in Silver Spring.
Okay.
The address is 11319 Elkin Street, Silver Spring, Maryland, 20902.
And there's going to be a big grand opening, I
Yes,
guess.
absolutely.
Let's talk about that.
Yes,
Let's
yes,
talk
yes.
about the plans.
Well, the grand opening is on April 20th and 21st. It's a Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 6 on both days.
April 20th?
20th and 21st.
Okay.
And that day, we're going to have a sampling of everything. We're going to have some vendors there.
Free stuff?
Free, yeah, everything's free.
There's got to be free on the first day.
Absolutely free. And we're going to have samples of some of the vendors, some of the food vendors. You know, later on, we'll probably down the road we're going to try and have different events, like maybe a taste. You know, like a taste of DC, but a food tasting thing. But that's down in plans and works.
National Tasting Day.
Yeah.
And so every country brings something.
We'll see who has the best jollof rice.
I do.
Oh, I don't know. We will see. And so those things are happening. And one of the things that you and I discussed before, and which is, I think, is a great idea here, we're going to talk about Smart Ticket.
Okay.
And we will use Smart Ticket to promote this event throughout the diaspora and just throughout the different people who are on Smart Ticket.
And that's because Smart Ticket was made or created by Alain Pierre himself, who is the founder and the CEO of Afrique Today. So I'm glad that you use it. Isn't that what the purpose of us all coming together under a platform like Diaspora International Platform? I think that's the whole purpose of promoting one another. And yes, go ahead.
No, I was saying that's absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. And I think as more of us can combine our skills, our talents, our gifts, we'll see a bigger result, whatever that may be.
Great. So I did not hear you talk about one thing that I like, music. Is there going to be like a cultural night, a music night where some of us can just go around and
hear our sounds? Absolutely.
Okay, let's hear it. Because, you know, food and music actually, I mean, in all sincerity, brings people together, because music kind of like break the barriers that were meant to be broken anyway. And people can listen to whether you don't understand the language or not. So tell me a little bit about
music. We're going to not only have music and events, because the space can be used at different times for different reasons.
Okay.
So in the evenings, we'll have a close, private, close niche. Maybe the artists will come in and play from different countries and bring even local ones who are here. They'll come in and play their sounds. But then on top of that, we want to share the culture too and bring in language teaching. Different cultures in different countries all have their own language, and if it's a native to the land, or if it's something, we want to bring that in where people can come and learn. Because as you mentioned, we're breaking down barriers.
Yes.
And music will draw you in, and we'll have that as well. And so that's part of it as well.
And is it going to be music from different countries or just Africa?
No, music from different countries. I mean, but some of the main countries we're focusing on, the main places are Africa.
The main places will be Africa, and that's where we're going to just hold on right there. Don't touch the dial. But we'll be right back, right here in the studios of Afrique today. This is This Time Africa, and I'm speaking with Mr. James Mensah, a business entrepreneur. When we come back, who is James Mensah? Welcome back to This Time Africa, right here in the studios of Afrique Today. We have been speaking with Mr. James Mensah, business entrepreneur, who is a co-founder of FAS Marketplace and also runs a branch of the State Farm right here in the state of Maryland. Before we left, I asked the question, who is James Mensah?
Well, Matilda, as you mentioned, I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm also a husband, a father, a brother. And it's interesting because being from Liberia and coming from a civil war in the early 90s is interesting. You land into a different country and you have to adapt quickly. And so I'm an adapter, you know, I adapt to my name. But being an entrepreneur, you learn to meet other people, you learn to help, and you get information and knowledge from different places and you transfer it quickly. You know, if I learn something about production and what you guys are doing, I quickly tell you about what's happening with Apple. And that's a lean or avenue you can go towards. But for myself, and James Mensah, simply put, is a person who wants to help others and who want to see our people as a whole and people in general succeed.
Oh, I love that. Bless your heart.
Thank you.
I know that if we can have, and I'm sure the buzz is going around now about Africa and people wanting to help each other. Why do you think there's so much buzz?
Well, I think some of it is, you know, things run in cycles. You know, when, as I mentioned in the early 90s, as I came in to the States, a lot of times people were wearing the African culture as a style. You know, there was the dashiki and people had the bracelets and all these different things. It was an in thing. Yeah. But then it faded away.
It kind of faded away, yes.
You know, wait a minute, am I out of style or what happened? But then what also happened after was, as things recycled, and from an economic standpoint, you have these big businesses and corporates, giants and behemoth companies, they're looking at Africa back home and saying, wait a minute, this population of people we can influence them from different places. And that's getting sifted down to different people in the diaspora and saying, wait a minute, we are rising up. And so that's where that buzz, I think, is coming from, the top down, from corporations, but also the people who are saying, well, don't misrepresent me and don't try to understand me if you don't already.
If you don't already, that's right. But do you also think it's because there is an awareness that is, rising among Africans to be proud of who we are?
Absolutely.
And then, of course, do you think also that education plays a role? Because when you're educated, not just traditional education, but generally, having that awareness that this is who we are, and let the sleeping giant just rise and be proud of yourself.
I think it does. The educational piece, and I've never met African who was not proud. From every country, I've met many people from many places. And so now that African pride is not just staying within our circles, is being blended outside to other cultures as well. And I'll give this example of the president of Ghana had a very strong remarks to the French president. And that was very interesting, but he wasn't trying to be insulting, but he was just trying to let him know how proud he was.
What did he say? Some smart thing?
He said some interesting comments about how we are developing and growing, and we are not leaning so much on other countries as we had in the past. And I think that's permeated throughout throughout citizens and people of every country, not just Ghana or Liberia or wherever. It's just something that's gone through the wells, through the weeds.
Plus, there are a lot of Africans here. Well, most of us are citizens, but there are Africans here. So I would say that if you have a constituent here, you would want to provide for their needs, what they eat, what they wear, what they are comfortable with.
Absolutely.
I want to think so. So I went to a program recently and I shared something with them, which is a kind of a metaphorical thing. But I said to them that a doctor, there was a baby in the incubator, and the nurse came back to the doctor and said, "Doctor, this baby is breathing." And the doctor said, "If he's breathing, take him out of the incubator. If he's breathing, if Africa is breathing, take Africa out of the incubator.
Interesting.
Let the baby walk. Let the baby be. She's alive. We're not dead." I mean, so I just like to get back to that word. So what's the buzz about the diaspora? What do you think we should be talking about in the diaspora?
I think one of the things is looking at our respective countries back home. And also, you always hear about the brain drain. That many left their countries and came to the U.S. or France or Australia or Canada and other places, but the brains left. And so now the brains must return, and now they're returning on a different level with different thinking, but also bringing in the best of whatever they learned from these places in engineering or math or science and applying it. That's where I think we can really impact countries. And some people don't want to move. They've been here 20, 30 years. And let's be honest, it's fine. But they also can visit, input, and come back.
Yeah, I think Ghana is already doing something like that. And not to, I'm not looking at other countries yet, but I looked at something on TV, and Ghana is already offering like a kind of a wage pay. Whatever you're earning here as an expatriate, they're able to pay you that. So you can go back. And for those who do not want to go back, they take like a sabbatical or leave for a couple of months and go there and help the students in the universities or whatever job that you can find.
That's
I
brilliant.
think that's awesome.
That's brilliant.
Do you think Liberia is going to do that?
I think in due time, perhaps that's something that might come around. I'm not sure, but that's a good idea for the government to consider. How
is Liberia doing, by the way?
Liberia, it's from my understanding and what I gather, it's moving along. In many aspects, there's a big major setback from the wars, but as things turn around, things I think, as they say, we're humping along.
You're hopping along. So how do you manage your heart between being a husband? What grounds you? Well, like what makes James Mensah this cool person that I've always known? Between being a husband, a business entrepreneur, and how do you manage?
It's first my faith. I lean on it. As a Christian, I lean on that and ask God for direction, and then also I listen. You know, also listening, say, okay, don't go that way, try this project, try that one, meet this person. And then trying to manage my time as best as I can. The most precious asset I have is time.
Yes.
And balancing it between work and the kids and other projects is difficult. But then also making sure I leave time for my friends, because you can be the most successful person on earth and have
lonely,
no friends
and be lonely.
Exactly. So you don't want to do that either. So you try and really balance that and also I think what really helps me a lot, for other entrepreneurs out there will understand, is finding the things that I'm passionate the most about, that you're passionate the most about, so it doesn't feel like work.
That's right.
It does not at all.
That's right. And you know, when we spoke some time ago, you mentioned something about your journey from GE.
Yeah.
And that you actually met somebody that kind of like inspired you to go the route that you are in today. You want to say a little bit about that before we...
Yeah, absolutely. Before I became a owner of a State Farm agency in Wheaton, Silver Spring area, I worked for a great company called General Electric, aka GE. And what we did there, my journey into getting to GE was this. Many years ago, while still in early years in college or even in high school, I watched a lot of public TV, PBS, and PBS will present business cases, something like this, where they'll bring in CEOs from around the world, and the top CEOs at the time, and GE was one of the top companies. It was compared to the Apple of the day. And what happened with GE, I constantly saw this gentleman named Jack Welch. He was always on. Again, I was, is this the only guest they could find? But he had a lot to say, and he was frequently on the show. So I started reading his books, learning from him, and I said, one day I will work at this company and my work will go to this man. So we fast forward after college. Guess what?
You worked for him.
I got a job at GE.
See that? Did you write it on your vision board? Speak it into reality, right?
Yeah, and it really worked. It really worked, because I got a job there and I got into a special program, which was the program was designed to replace the CEOs. So I got a chance to work with just the CEOs of GE, and classes and everything I learned was real life and working on $1 million projects at a very young age. So it was just amazing education. Amazing,
amazing. Are you reading any books right now?
Yes, I am reading. I am reading a couple. I read a lot.
I do more of audiobooks.
Yeah, I do both. I'll buy the book and I'll also read as well. I'll do both.
It kind of like it makes a little bit of a difference when you do that. Tell us one more time about the FAS Marketplace, when you're going to open it, and the dates and all of that, and if you have a website.
Yes, FAS Marketplace. The website is fasmarketplace.com. We're opening on April 20th and 21st. in Silver Spring, Maryland. The address is 11319 Elkin Street, Silver Spring, Maryland 20902. And please come and check us out at fasmarketplace.com.
All right. One more question for you before we leave. What will be a aha moment for you? What is it that will happen for James Mensah, and you will breathe a sigh of relief?
Excellent question. A aha moment for me would be the day that you see the value that corporations anywhere on the globe value Africans in terms of our economic power, our social economic power, our political power, our continent, what we have on the continent, and they say, wait a minute, let's look at that country first, and we're no longer considered third world.
Yes.
That will be, they say, wait a minute, they figured out our value, and now they're playing towards it, and now we have a big hand at the table.
We should have a big hand at the table, because that's who we are. We are valued. Isn't that what we are? That's how we drop the curtain tonight. We have been speaking to James Mensah, who is a business entrepreneur at FAS Marketplace, and of course also overseeing an agency, State Farm. But this has been a wonderful time. This is This Time Africa right here in the studios of Africa Today. As you know, watch us out on Facebook. Go to www.africtoday.com. watch us again on YouTube, or you can check us out live just by downloading the app. This has been me, your host, Seah Matilda Banga. I'll see you.